Yeah, hi, Dustin. I was wondering what kind of expectations you had heading in today and how they may have been met and what you saw out there today.
I think the expectation is same as it is every year. It's just a different time of the year for us, a different situation. But we had a good day. Practicing a pretty high tempo scrimmage, which probably is a little different than I know we do scrimmage, but it's different when we're don't have the opportunity to down the road to play any other team. So we got to kind of push each other in practice a little bit more. That's probably the only real significant difference is the scrimmage is a little more intense.
Just to follow up, did you stay in the Southern California area the entire time during the break?
I went back to New York like I normally do, and then I kind of went back and forth between LA and New York. Kind of got back here for school, and then obviously that didn't go as expected. So then we just kind of, but I've been back here for the last 2.5 months.
Have you become a skilled elementary school teacher now?
Skilled is not a word I'd use with my teaching ability, but I've become some sort of, I'm not very good at it. It's different when it's your own kids, obviously, but it's been a interesting time and learn a lot, I guess.
Thank you.
All right. Next is Francisco Rivera.
Hey, Dustin. First of all, happy holidays. Best wishes for 2021. What kind of advice do you give to young players, especially after this very awkward situation for everybody, not only you guys, but everybody around the world?
Is this in regards to like getting ready for the season?
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's a great opportunity for everybody here because, fact of the matter, we've had a lot of time off and a lot of unstructured time. So there's guys that probably have taken advantage of that. And I mean, across the board, NHL, all athletes probably. So there's probably some opportunity for some guys who have put in the work over the last 7-8 months to make a real good impression, maybe push for a spot or advance up the depth chart. So it really just depends on how you spent these last 9 months.
And just to follow up on that, was there any specific routine, anything that you followed during the pandemic or that kept you up in shape, both physically and mentally?
I did my same normal routine. The balancing act was trying not to burn out, quite honestly, because on a normal year you have 3 to 5 months, or depending on your program, and I mean you can't maintain that intensity for 9 months. So we had to build in some rest weeks and some active recovery weeks. So it was probably hard more mentally than physically, quite honestly, just the uncertainty of everything, just like everyone else is dealing with whatever they're doing. But getting in the gym every day when not knowing when you're going to start, there's some days that were tough, but it was part of the job.
All right, next up is Jack Harris.
Hey, Dustin, is the biggest challenge of this camp more physical, trying to get your timing down, your legs back under you, or is it trying to get back into the systems that Todd put in last year, just remembering some of those things after 9 months off?
I think, quite honestly, both of it kind of comes with a little bit of time. I mean, I felt better on the ice personally today than I have in years past first days. But then again, we've also been skating at least the last few weeks in a little more structured way than we do in a normal year. So that's probably helped quite a bit. It's just one of those things you just got to get yourself ready.
Todd's told us that, he thinks it's time to, I think he used a phrase like turn the ship. Rob Blake yesterday mentioned that he wants to see you guys competing for a playoff spot. I mean, do you guys has that message been made pretty clear to you guys that, after the last couple of years, this is sort of an opportunity to really try to jump back into being, a more competitive team? Do you feel that as you guys open camp today?
Yeah, I mean, that's been the message since yesterday. We had a little meeting, and I think it's exciting time to be part of the Kings. We got a lot of young talent that we've, accumulated over the last few years. And we still got some older players that can play. So it's just a matter of meshing them together and getting on the right track. I think we did a lot of really good work last year before this all ended. Getting used to Todd's system was an adjustment last year for a lot of guys. I mean, for myself, I've never played any other system than what we played prior to him being here. So it was a change and a learning experience last year, and hopefully we can use that and be a step ahead this year.
How much do you think this schedule, the compact schedule, playing the same 7 teams all year, like how much is that going to just impact the rhythm and flow of the season?
I mean, I've played in leagues similar to this, like the one lockout year in 2004. I played in the AHL, and it was the same thing. You played, Knoll 8 times. It becomes, you get a real good hate on for teams, that's for sure. So from that aspect, it might be good for the competitive nature of the game when you're playing the same teams. But there are some games that are just both teams are gonna. I think there's one stretch of games when we played the Ducks 5 straight games, so it's like almost like a playoff series atmosphere. We'll see how it goes. I mean, it's what we're doing this year as a league, so you got to make the best of it and prepare for it. The flip side of it, the travel schedule seems to be a lot better for us compared to our normal 82 game regular season schedule, because we're staying in cities, less flights, less airtime, less travel overall. So there's opportunity to make improvements. So
thank you. Happy New Year.
All right, next up is Zach Dooley.
Hey, Dustin. As a player, how much advantage do you think it is to have, these extra few days of training camp in what's a pretty condensed window for teams around the league?
I mean, it's 3 days or 4 days. I don't know. It really just depends on what you can get accomplished in that. But a lot of these other teams have played. I mean, I think the whole idea is that it's the 7 teams that haven't played in 9 months. It's just about how you use that time, whether you take advantage of it as a player. I think it's important for myself to just get my body right in these next couple of days and have a good camp, because you don't have any any competition or any games to really test where you're at. You have to find a way to do it in practice. So these extra days will help.
Is there a comfort level for you, on this first day, skating alongside 2 players in Kopitar and Iafallo, who you've played with so many times, that kind of help you to get back into that routine right from the get-go?
I'm sure it does help to some extent. I don't think it's a huge part of, especially in the early going of a training camp. I think a lot of it is everyone, even today, we're out there practice, scrimmage. The first few days for me have always been just getting up to speed really on your body, because it's just different when you got, all the training, all the skates, all the stuff you do prior to camp, and then the first 15 minutes when you have a guy lean on you, you can barely breathe. So it's a lot of it's just getting out there and getting used to the physicality of what we do every day. But it does help just knowing for the sake of drills and for our scrimmage today, there's plays that you can make that I just know Kopi's going to be there. I know AI is going to do this. So from that aspect, it does help a little bit.
Thank you.
All right, next is Darrell Evans.
Hey, Dustin.
God
welcome
bless you,
back.
Darrell Evans.
God bless you, young man. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but as an individual and as a team, what are the biggest challenges to getting off to a good start this year?
I think the biggest thing is going to be our attitude and our perseverance, because the season's not going to be perfect. There's a lot of things that are different, more difficult, this, that, and the other thing, but like it is what it is. So you can either deal with it and move on and do the best you can and figure out a way to adapt to this all the hurdles we have to do to allow us to play. It's going to be a lot about who manages those types of problems best, because it's like another aspect of team success this year is how they handle the adversity that comes with everything that's this year is about. So I think a lot of it's just being able to deal with adversity and coming in the next day and finding a way to get better.
And when you go back to before the last season started, there's a lot of roster changes, a lot of younger players coming around. How has the identity of the team changed going back to, let's say, the start of your last training camp?
I think it helps a lot. Just another year under the belt, under Todd's coaching, getting the system in place, but also just like the experience that those younger players have, being in camp, being around last year. Well, that's a two-way street. So I know there, as a young player, you're probably nervous when you got Kobe and Dewey in the room, but the flip side of that is some of those young guys have been in a few camps now, so we know them a little bit better. It just helps that we've had these young guys talking about this good young core that we have coming up, and it's not like their first year. So we know them as people, we know them as players, and we can be a little more enmeshed with them.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Andrew Knoll.
Yeah, hey Brownie, happy New Year, man. Good to see you. I wanted to ask you first about the 10-month or 9-10-month layoff. I know obviously not ideal, but is there any upshot to that? I mean, I'm sure, especially thinking back to when you guys are having deep playoff runs, there is kind of a cumulative fatigue of all that contact and competition. Do you think that this layoff maybe allowed guys to get their body right and recover?
I think for me, it's been good. I can only speak for myself. Again, I think this type of question really comes down to, you have 9 months off, how do you use it? And for me, it's been very helpful. It's giving my body a little bit more rest than I've ever had. I guess I at one point, it was the longest time I've never in my life, I think I haven't had skates on my feet. So I think if you took advantage of it and you used it properly, like today, I felt pretty good on the ice, but it's also just, today was good because you forget how much you missed it, even if a hard practice. It's just feels good to be out there again.
For sure. And, big picture, last year you guys had strong possession numbers, when you look at shot volume, all that kind of stuff was way up. What are you working on and discussing to maybe try and become a little more efficient as far as shot opportunities, traffic, all that sort of thing to get those things to kind of pay off into results?
Yeah, I mean, last year, obviously, I think I mentioned this was a big learning experience, new system, new forecheck, we changed a lot last year, and it was a big learning curve. And I thought we were starting to get it. We had a good stretch down the end, and I think it's just about building on that foundation of our forecheck and all that stuff. We haven't really gotten into the details of if we're making adjustments. I'm sure we are, but it's a matter of just understanding what we did last year, how we did it, and then building on top of it. We can't go back and have to reestablish what we're doing on our forecheck, what we're doing here. It has to be ingrained in us at this point, so we can work on the next aspect of our game.
And lastly, I mean, I know for much of your roster, development has been the emphasis. Rob talked a little bit about that. Are there any guys who came into camp today that you saw them and maybe, you're impressed with the work they put in or how their physique developed over this time? Obviously talking more about the younger guys on the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from the sounds of it, I mean, it's hard to say day one because, quite honestly, a lot of these guys have been skating with us. Like a bunch of guys have been in LA. We've been having 2 or 3 different skates so it's like I've been seeing them for the last few weeks, and it's good to see. Again, like the first year these young guys come up, it's tough for them, whether it's they're behind physically or the speed's a little too fast. But now you're starting to see these players just jump into camp and go. And I guess one example, I think Gabe has put on 15 pounds of muscle, all that type of stuff that the strength guys talk about is obviously part of becoming a pro for those young guys. And it sounds like everyone's done a lot of good work.
All right, a few more. Next is Nick Nixon. Nick, you got to unmute your mic.
Okay, are you there, Dustin?
I'm here.
Okay. when the puck drops to start the regular season in a couple of weeks, you'll officially have 17 seasons with the Kings. Can you put into perspective what it's meant to you to be with the same team for your entire career? It's something that very few athletes in any sport are able to do.
I don't think about it very often. It is something that I am proud of, though. We've had our ups and downs, me personally. Obviously, we've been to the top, and I've had some hard years personally, but sometimes you got to find a way through, and I've always felt like I've been a King, so hopefully I can stay one.
All right, next up is Dennis Bernstein.
Dustin, building off of that, 2 more seasons left on your deal. Can you foresee playing past this deal?
I think there's always an opportunity. As I get older, the more I don't really think about it right now. I got a year here, and then next year after, and then you just reassess. If I feel good mentally and physically, then why not? I mean, right now I feel great, so it's just a matter of, everyone talks about retirement, and I'll know when it's time for me, and I'll let you guys know.
When's the last time you played in front of no fans?
Today. But for a real game, gosh, no fans. I mean, it depends on what you define as no fans, but like we're going to be playing now, never. I mean, early on in my career, we played in some empty buildings, but that's a little different than now. So this is probably will be my first experience of, I guess it's from what I've heard talking to guys, it's a little different.
You think there's an issue with focus if you go out there and there's nobody in the building and really no sounds?
I don't know. I think a lot of that comes down to just how you prepare yourself to play. You definitely get energy from the buildings, from the fans, all that sort of stuff, but it's not a possibility this year for reasons. So it's, again, one of those things that kind of falls into that basket of how do teams and players deal with the abnormality of this year and everything that it entails. So again, I think a lot of there's the hockey part of it, but then there's that aspect of thing is how do teams deal with the teams that deal with that part of this season the best, I think, are going to put themselves in a much better position because it's just so evident and so prominent in the everyday life of what we're trying to do here.
Thanks, 23.
Okay, we got time for 2 more, and then Andre's ready to talk. So next is going to be Steven Dorfman. Hoover, you're muted.
How about now? Is that better?
Okay. Yep, there you go.
Hey, sorry about that. Was there anything you were able to do, Dustin, during the downtime off the ice to kind of reinforce the systems that Todd put in place last year that you were talking about the adjustment to?
Not particularly. I mean, I didn't go over one like really hockey X and O thing. It was more just focusing on staying in shape for me and staying. Like I said, the hardest thing for me was probably the mental part of it, just not knowing when we're going to start. I think we're going to get into all the systems, and we did some system work today, but I didn't remember a lot of our systems. But again, it took me maybe 5 minutes to go through it today, and it kind of clicks in your brain when you've done it long enough. It's like kind of like running, but you just need a little quick refresher for me at least. We went over forecheck today, and it's like after a couple reps, it's like, okay, I remember what we were doing on our forecheck last year, and we can go.
Thank you.
All right, last up is John Hoven.
Brownie, I know you guys had the big meeting with the team yesterday, and then you've been skating with some of the players for the last couple of weeks and whatnot. But have you guys met as a leadership group at all, and just sort of talk about your expectations for the season and maybe anything along those lines?
Yeah, we've had a couple meetings, just more on like the culture of the team and where we want to go. I think it's pretty clear. I mean, if you're an NHL team, what the final goal is, but there's a lot of steps that go into that. And I feel like this whole year and this lead up to this, it's put us in a pretty good position internally just to really focus on what we need to do individually, collectively, whether it's the top leadership group or that middle leadership group coming into their own. There's a lot of opportunity for players, and we've had a few meetings on it. And I think it's good that we're talking about this thing prior to the season, because this is going to be once we get started, it's going to be a wild ride, I think, and there's going to be a lot of hiccups, and so we got to have that type of stuff in place, essentially to deal with the adversity that we're going to have to face. Every team's going to have to face, so it's important that we have that in place, and I think we've done a lot of work on that area prior to camp.
One quick follow-up on that too. When you were breaking into the league, there were guys that took you under their wing, and then vice versa. Back in the 2012 Cup years, you guys were taking guys under your wing. What about now? When you look ahead to this season, is there a young player maybe that you've adopted, if you will, for this coming season?
Not yet, but I'm sure there will be. We got to get through the first part of camp and see how everything shakes out from a roster management standpoint. I don't even know all the rules now with everything, so I don't even know how many guys I don't know any of that stuff, but I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of opportunity, not only for myself but for a lot of guys to reach out and help some of these young guys, because it's not easy, especially, and then again the whole COVID, coming into the league right now is even harder than it was before, because there's just everything, so much you need to know. You don't want to make a mistake as a player, whether it's on the ice or off this ice, with the protocols. So just making sure everyone's taken care of, I think probably falls a little bit to the older guys, especially in a year like this when there's so much added responsibility on everybody to be able to play and to do it safely. So I'm sure we'll have a lot of adoptions over the next couple of weeks.